What's up, y'all? I wanted to come to you today to talk about a topic that has been off and on in my brain throughout my expat journey, and that's the importance of community and the importance of connections. Now, I do have to be honest that right now it's at the top of my mind because yesterday was the anniversary of the founding of my beloved sorority. So, shout out to my sorors of Sigma Gamma Rho, Sorority Incorporated. 103 years of greater service, greater progress, and we make it look good. So, as I said, community and connections. Who and what do you belong to? What gives you meaning? Where do you get your inspiration? Where do you get ideas from? And for many of us, when we think about community, we sometimes think about it as the physical places that we live in. But for a lot of us, we recognize community are the people that are in those places and spaces. So it could be your family as your community, whether it's immediate or extended family. It could be your work colleagues, the ones who go beyond just your acquaintances, but you develop relationships with. It can be your church members. It can be the volunteer organizations that you serve with. Whatever it means to you, community is often the place where we get inspiration, we're motivated, we can be encouraged to be our best selves. Either they're calling for you to be that or they make you want to be. But either way, it's often a touch point to remind you of your why. Why do you do things? Why are you motivated in different areas? And so I think along the lines for many expats, we may not recognize just how important it is to have community. If you're coming from a place, you often have pre existing networks. And so you don't necessarily think about it because a lot of times these things have been with you for so long that they just are. But when you're an expat, you're often inserting yourself into places and spaces that you've never been. And it doesn't matter if you visited, you still don't necessarily yet belong to those places. And so it can be isolating if you are in places and you don't know anyone and you're not able to make inroads or connections with people. And so I like to think about in the many whys that we have for the things that we do in life is, do you have others that you can turn to? And so as a part of my journey here in Mexico, I have always been a community seeker. I get that there are some people who are introverts, and those folks are not remotely interested in meeting other humans and interacting with them. I see you, and it's all good. But I think sometimes when you are in uncomfortable or unknown places, you have to go outside of yourself. Now, I will say some people take the opportunities to invent or reinvent themselves in these new spaces. And so I'm not necessarily asking you to hype yourself up and become a completely different person than you were back home. But if you are that introvert in your home and in your normal life, when you go to a new space, maybe try something different. Have conversations with people on the streets or in a restaurant or places that you may not normally do if you were back home. Having inroads with people who are in the community who've been there for years, they often can give you pitfalls to avoid. They can give you information and shortcuts and cheat codes to how to do things and where to access services or resources. And so it can save you many hours of doing mindless research that could likely be answered with a pretty quick question and response. Now, I will caution you, sometimes there are things that you can easily search for online. So, for instance, where is the closest grocery store? You can search for that. Or is it hot most of the year? Or is it rainy most of the year? Often you can find that on Google and things like that. But there's sometimes nuanced questions that you may have that are very specific to you. So, for instance, if you're Black, you may want to know, if I am looking for a good school for me and my child, are there any that you would recommend or others that you may have had negative experiences? There are people who may be able to say, well, we went to that school and it wasn't as receptive or it wasn't as diverse or things like that. So you're able to get feedback from people in that way. Also, when you are thinking about how to get the information, I know there's a lot of opportunities to interact with people online. And so I often say, start there first. if you can join different social media groups, especially Facebook. And I know for some of us, you may or may not be a fan of it. But if you do not have strong reservations against it, I will say that sites such as that really do offer opportunities to get into community with a large number of people relatively easily. So research the country or countries you're interested in. Look for the various expat groups, or if you're not really interested in expats, but you just want to know about the people of those countries or those cities within the country, then look up groups, see if they exist, join them. A lot of times I would say just sit back, do your introduction, and then get the lay of the land a little bit. But more importantly, look and see what has been discussed or what the vibe is. Is it a really active group? Are people having a lot of interactions and conversations? If so, if that's your steam and your speed, then that may be exactly what you're looking for. You want a group that is going to be social and active, even if it's just online. You may want that. In those groups, you can also search for different things that you may be looking for so that you get a chance to see, has this question been asked and answered already, so that you don't necessarily look like the person who's just jumping in really quickly and asking the thing that is often asked at least twice a day in the group, for instance. And in doing so, you can help yourself to not necessarily look like the person who is, as we used to say back home, loud and wrong. So take a moment, take a beat, and just suss out what the group is like and the dynamics and stuff like that. But if there are things that you do not find to be red flags in these groups, you're like, okay, these folks seem pretty cool. Start to insert yourself. Start to have conversations, either responding when people post things or after you've done a bit of research to make sure that the questions you have haven't been asked already, go ahead and jump in and start asking questions. And I think that when people see you and they regularly see you showing up, despite the fact that that is your online persona, and so we'll talk a little bit about online persona versus who you are outside when you meet people in person. But if they start to see you as wanting to contribute, wanting to be a part of what's going on in that particular community, there's that word, they may start to open up to you in a way that if you're just a person who jumps in and the first day you get into a group, you're like, I'm going to be there tomorrow. Who wants to meet me? And they're like, who are you? And you may or may not get people who want to do that. But just showing yourself and whatever your personality is, if we can say your online persona, can be really helpful. And I think that is one of those steps that we may take for granted, but it is just like in any other situation. As you're more active in any type of endeavor, people start to see you, they notice you, may not hopefully have preconceived notions about you if they ever then get to see you in person. But I do think it's really critical to make sure that you are showing interest and you are being inquisitive and asking things, as is your comfort level. Again, I'm not suggesting you be someone you're not. If you're not super extroverted, there's no need to be jumping on every post talking 100 times a day, because then if you're very introverted, when you get to those places and spaces and then you meet people in person, they're like, oh, she is very, very different, or he's very, very different from who they seem to be online. So again, I say kind of modulate who you are so that it's truly who you would be in a face-to-face setting. But beyond that, in addition to just being in community and having those conversations with people, I do suggest that if at all possible, as I said, if you can go to places and do scouting trips, to say, hey guys, I'm going to be in the country or in your city in next month, and I'll be there for a week or two. If anyone would like to grab coffee, or if there are any local events going on that I might need to know about, I'd love to be a part of it so that I can get to know people actually in the community. And a lot of times people will let you know if it is an active type of place or an active community that you're in. They're going to often tell you like, okay, yeah, we have a poetry slam that's happening on the 25th. If you're there, it would be great for you to participate. But if not, then a couple of people may be willing to meet you for, as I said, coffee or grab a bite to eat. And so in doing that, they get to associate you again with your online persona, which hopefully matches the face-to-face person, and you're known. And then if you ultimately decide after, let's say, that scouting trip or that visit, or even just online, if you don't have a chance to go to that place that you want to move, again, you're not an unknown quantity coming into a community. And so there's likely going to be a level of reception to you that may or may not exist if you didn't do those things. Now, again, you don't have to. These are just helpful suggestions so that it doesn't feel like you're cold calling people when you get to a place. But by all means, if you don't have the ability to do that, come. Be who you are. If there are events that make sense to you to be a part of, still go and people will get to know you. One thing, especially in the expat space, is that we are all, or we have all been new to that experience, to that community, to that place. We all know what it's like in those first few days when you're trying to figure all the things out. And friendships and connections are important, but they may not be the most important things. So we get it. We get that feeling of isolation as all the stuff that was no longer is, and you're creating new. So often you're going to get people who are going to be receptive to you. If you are a person of color, if you are LGBTQIA community, if you are a person with a disability, if you are interacting with people in those groups, you may have the opportunity to connect with them in specific ways because of commonalities. And then who you are as a person will then dictate if they want to continue to associate with you. But leading and linking and seeking people who may fit into whatever group you're in could be important. And I highly encourage it for you. For me, it's always important anywhere I go, even if I'm going on a vacation. If I'm going to be there for a lengthy amount of time, I'm looking for the blacks in such and such, and I'm looking for expats in such and such, because I recognize that when I get to that place, these individuals, again, may know things about that city that would be really helpful for me. So, for instance, they may be like, this restaurant is new, it's awesome, or this is a really nice concert venue, or something like that that they can share with you. And so you want to be able to get that sort of information that I get from Google and other searches. But sometimes lay of the land and asking people who are there, who have the most real-time information, can be super helpful. Your goal may not be in these conversations, I want community and I want them to like me and I want to be a part of the network. But I think it is a part and parcel for what happens over time as you continue to show up and you continue to be in places and spaces. It matters. While we've all, if you're in this expat arena, have been the newbies, we get it. There's also a bit of a reticence because people come and people go. You often also don't know what people's agendas are if they have one. And so it does take time to build those networks and those connections, but often it's very worth it. And so I challenge all of you as you think through your journey to not discount the power of connection. I have gone through the honeymoon phase here in San Miguel. I have gone through what feels like deep, deep, dark valleys where I'm like, oh my God, why I did this? And did I do the right thing? And do I need to recalibrate? And so a lot of that stuff is natural. But when you're having those moments where you're past that honeymoon phase and you're either going through just a regular day or even one of those valleys that I talk about, it can feel very isolating. You can feel that I'm experiencing this and this feels so unique to me. But if you're in community with people, you can say, hey, girl, I'm having a week, I'm having a day, I'm having a month, and I'm really struggling. And they can often say, let's push through it. What do you need? Do you want to go out? Do you want to hang? Do you want just someone to vent? And it really helps for you to get past that moment because you realize you're not alone. And a lot of times the feelings that we think are very unique to us are not. They're things that many people who are going through various journeys, whether it's being an expat in another country, or even moving in your own country to a new state or a new city can be, and it can feel really challenging. But having a sounding board for someone just to make sure that you're human and that what you're going through is something that many people have experienced can go a long way. And you saying, all right, I'm down today, but I'll be back and I'm fine tomorrow. And like I said, humanizing the process. And it is invaluable to have those connection points to remind you of a why. It may not be their why, but it can help you remind yourself of your why and recognizing that the thing that is a deal breaker today may be tolerable tomorrow. I think also in terms of community, especially depending on how you're moving and your circumstances. If you're a single person, having community, people who know you by name, know you by face. If you go out to different things, they expect to see you, and all of a sudden they don't see you or hear from you online or otherwise for lengthy time periods. You may have folks who are checking in like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you in country? Are you traveling? What's going on? That you have people who, again, look for you and hope all's well with you. Let's say you're part of a couple, same thing. You all are interacting and hanging out, and all of a sudden people don't see you. There are going to be those people that are going to be checking in with you to figure out everything. Like I said, are you in town? Are you out of town? What's happening? And then for the category in which I fall, which is a single mom, I'm here with my daughter, and it's just the two of us. And so it's really nice to know that there are people who, on a daily or weekly basis, are seeing me, whether it's the teachers at her school and other parents as we do pickups and drop offs, or the people that I interact with through the friend circles that I'm creating, who are not going to necessarily let too much time go without checking in and making sure I'm okay, my daughter's okay. That means a lot to me. As I said, there are various aspects of life that can feel really isolating when you are living abroad and you're doing something that, let's say, you've never done before. It feels good to know that people are connected with you in ways that they want to know you as a human, you as a person, you as a friend, that life is okay for you. And even beyond that, that if you need assistance with something, they may be willing to give it. So recognize the power that it keeps you from worrying about safety. It may keep you knowledgeable about things that you need to make your life easier or just fulfilling. And it can be just a place and space for you to recognize and expand who and what you are and the people who are known to in your world. And we have a template that we've often followed in life. This is life, this is friends, this is work, this is all of the things. But when you move abroad, you do have that opportunity to create those clean slate moments. And so leaning into it and having fun. You may not be a dancer back home, but guess what? You may see some salsa lessons, some flamenco lessons, and say, I'm in. I want to do that. That's great. That's going to likely be a community that if you keep doing that thing, you're going to develop your salsa friends, your merengue, let's go out people, let's do those sorts of things. And it's really awesome because, again, that it's almost like unlocks a new level for you and a new bit of your personality or the things you like and you want. And so I always encourage people along those levels to try new things, whether it's in the life that you already have or in this new life you're creating. So the things that you may have never thought about, if it sounds intriguing to you, try it. You may like it. If not, oh well, go on to the next thing. But for the most part, just recognizing that there are ways to create community. Online is not the only one. You can just show up to places and spaces, and the more you come around, the more you're active, the more people get to see you work. Not what you say, but see you work and see how you operate in the world with other people. They're going to find out pretty quickly. You're going to find out pretty quickly if they're going to rock with you or they're not. And recognize that it is a two-way street. As you're creating community, you're not auditioning for new friends. You're not trying to, again, be something you're not. But it is important that as you develop connections, that people in those new communities accept you, but you also have the right and the privilege to accept them. And if you find things that don't work for you, then move on to the next. It's a video to talk about, for many of us, things that we don't necessarily think about because they're so autopilot in our life. Those connections, as I said, in the various types of groups and spaces that we occupy in life, can truly become your why, your lifeblood, your motivation when you're in a new place where you don't know anything, you don't know anyone. Finding commonality, finding a resting place, finding people who accept you for who you are and are supportive of that, that can really, really, really matter and really make your longevity in a place much, much greater. So I say lean in. For my introverts in the world, and I promise you I've become more of an introvert than I used to be, it can be challenging, but lean in a little bit. And for my extroverts, I already know what you're going to do. You're going to figure it out and you're going to be fine. But I do caution you not open your arms wide and accept everyone as friends. Have some caution because, again, people who they are, they bring themselves and their issues in other places, and you don't want to necessarily get into a situation where you are trusting of any and all and you get burned as a process. So be good to yourself, be receptive to how you feel about things and people, and trust your intuition. I think for a lot of us, we do ourselves a disservice by not listening to that inner voice that tells us, like, I don't like this situation, or I don't know about that person. And we often make excuses as to why we should do that thing or be in that place or interact with that. But that's not the case. If your intuition has kept you well for most of your life, trusted in new places and spaces, it will get you where you need to be. But again, for the most part, I do challenge you to do something different, to recognize that connections in whatever groups, whether globally or in very, very small, this is who I am type spaces, as I said, the groups, the specialties that rule some of our lives, have at it, enjoy it, and recognize as you build those friendships that those are going to be people that you're going to take with you, whether physically or the memories and the association and the connections when you leave that place. And it may give you reasons to come back and visit, or it may give them reasons to come visit you. So those connections you build will often last for a very long time. And so value them, seek them, and allow them to help you grow and develop more as a human. This is me signing off, telling you community and connections are important, whether they are those that you already had that you keep or the new ones you develop. So either way, I wish you well, and I hope that your journey as an expat is just as fulfilling as mine is.